Bookish Babes, and welcome to my book nook. For those that are new around here, the name's Rainy. I read lots of books, all different types of genres, so if we're interested in that, please like and subscribe down below. It really helps my channel grow. And today's video is a very special video because it's my birthday! Hey, hey, hey! And I have officially entered into my golden years of the 30s. Woo. Woo. I don't know how excited I actually am for that. I'm a little hesitant because that means I'm getting a lot older. But you know what? Everyone says the 30s are better than your 20s, and I choose to believe that. So I'm going to believe that. But when you are seeing this, is actually my birthday. So, I'm so happy. I love birthdays. It's a whole birthday month. It's a vibe. I love it. Everything about it. But in today's video, I decided, in honor of my birthday and turning 30, I am going to be giving you 30 book recommendations. But I'm not giving you these book recommendations. Friends are. So if you follow my Instagram, which if you don't, I'm rainybluereads on everything. A couple weeks ago, I asked for book recommendations, like your favorite book or like a book that you loved. And I asked for 30 people to give me 30 recs. And I think it turned out to be 28 or 29 people gave me recs, but some of them gave me 2, so I'm just going to use it as that. But it is 30 recommendations from 30 of my wonderful friends on Instagram. And some of them I've read and I agree with. Some of them I've never even heard of. And some are on my TBR. So I'm excited to get to them all hopefully one day. But I'm basically just going to say who told me what book, tell you a little bit about the book, and then hopefully you walk away with some really cool recommendations. I was going to categorize these by like genre, but you know what? I'm not going to do that. So this is what it is. We're just going to go in the order that I got them. And that's what it's going to be. Okay, so the first one I got is from Turgid Tones podcast, and that is Truth or Beard by Penny Reed, since I liked Flawless, which I loved Flawless. And actually, this is on my TBR, and so this one says it is about identical twins Beau and Dwayne Winston might share the same devastatingly handsome face, but where Beau is outgoing and sociable, Dwayne is broody and reserved. This is why Jessica James, recent college grad and perpetual level-headed good girl, has been in naive and unhealthy infatuation with Beau for most of her life. Whereas Dwayne and Jessica have always been adversaries, she can't stand him. But after a case of mistaken identity, she finds herself in a confusion kerfluffle. And then I'm like, this is a really long synopsis, and so the more and more I read, basically that she's going to get confused and end up being with Dwayne, and then end up liking Dwayne, and then something happens to Dwayne, and she has to choose between like her adversary or like her love. Anyway, so that is this book. This actually looks really, really good, and it is a series, so I definitely will prioritize this sooner than later. It looks so cute. The next one is from my friend Jean, or Purple Peony 9, over on Instagram, and she said Station 11. It's a Canadian real page turner. And of course, we all know what Station 11 is by now. I actually, I've been wanting to read this, and I haven't read this yet, but it is on my list. But in case you don't know what it is basically during a pandemic. It tells the story of a Hollywood star, his would-be savior, and a nomadic group of actors roaming the scattered outposts of the Great Lakes region, risking everything for heart and humanity. So basically, a famous Hollywood actor dies on stage during a production of King Lear. Hours later, the pandemic happens, and it moves back and forth in time from the actor's early days as a film star to 15 years in the future, when a theater troupe known as the Traveling Symphony roams the wasteland of what remains. This sounds very interesting, and actually not entirely what I thought it was going to be about. I should get to this sooner than later. The next one is from Books Yes Pleased, and it is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Now, I have had this on my list. I don't read very much professional development anymore, so I don't know when I'm ever going to get to this, but I do want to read this. So I know it's a memoir and a wake-up call. It's the story of how one woman learned that a responsible mother is not one who slowly dies for her children, but one who shows them how to fully live. I love that. That sounds like something I definitely should read, so maybe I should like bump that up the totem pole. The next one is from My Midnight Library, and it is Gothikana by Rue Nix. This dark academia novel perfectly mixes romance with mystery, and I mean, we do know I do love good old Gothikana. So if you don't know what that one is about, basically it's about Corvina, and she loses her mother but receives admission letter from this mysterious University of Varenmore and decides to go. It's in an old and secluded castle with secrets, deceit, and death. And then Vad Deverell is her professor. He knows the moment that he basically passes cross with Corvina, it's going to be dangerous. It's like their romance, an age gap romance. But there's also like disappearances that are going on that they have to solve. So it's like a mystery and a romance and everything all in one. And so good. So I definitely recommend this one. Next one is from Raya's Library, and it says Mile High by Liz Tomford. I loved the dynamics, hockey, and the FMC is plus sized, so we love to see it. I'm a little scared of this one because Brittany said it was not that good when I made her read it for our taste test one, but I probably will still read it. Hold on. And so I know that this one is about Xander, and he is going on an airplane with his hockey team, and he hates the flight attendant, but they end up having a romance, I'm pretty sure. That's all I really know about it, and that's all I'm really gonna go in knowing about it, but I do know it's like a 600-page book or something, so I need to be prepared. The next one is by Tales with Tank, and it is Heart Talk by Cleo Wade, Gentle Reminders for Navigating Life. I return to it often. And I have seen this one before, and I do need to add it to my TBR. But yeah, it basically says, it's creative inspiration and life lessons through poetry, mantras, and affirmation, and it's perfect for fans of the bestseller Milk and Honey, which I have read when I was younger. It looks really cute, and maybe I should just get to it. I do want to start reading books like that like motivate me. I just don't know when to prioritize them, you know? The next one is from Neva, Reading with Neva, Loveless. I gave it 5 stars. I actually own Loveless. I've been wanting to read this. I've started it like 2 different times, and I am going to finish it. I believe it is about a girl named Georgia, and she doesn't understand why she's different than everyone else, why she can't kiss, make out with so many friends to do, and like have sex with people. It's because she's asexual, and she in aromantic, and she's discovering that along the way. And of course, she's struggling with that because like that's different than what everybody else like believes love to be. And so that's what this book is about. But like, first off, isn't this just the cutest? I need to like finally read this. Like, it's speaking to me. It finally needs to happen. The next one is from my wonderful friend Hailey Ann from Hailey Hughes on YouTube, and she of course put Pretty Girls because it's the blueprint for every good thriller I've ever read, and I do have to agree, Pretty Girls is so good, but I will not recommend this one to everyone because it is very it's very dark. It's a very dark thriller, and it has a lot of like torture and other stuff in it, so like only go into it if you know that you can handle that sort of stuff. It's a very dark thriller. But basically, 20 years ago, Claire's eldest sister, Julia, went missing. Nobody knows where she went. They never solved the mystery, and it tore her family apart. Now another girl has disappeared and is reminding them of the past. So Claire is convinced that Julia and this girl's disappearance 20 years later is linked, but when she begins to learn about the truth about her sister, she's confronted with a shocking discovery, and nothing will ever be the same. So this book focuses a lot on like sisterhood and bonding, but then also on like what happened to their other sister, and it's so good. So good. But like I said, trigger warnings abound. So like, check them out before you read this. Next one is from Rin330, and it is Hunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. Such a twisted book, and the cliffhanger on the end makes you want to read the second book. So I believe they said hunting. The first one is haunting. I don't know if they meant the second book or not. I'm going to assume that they went with the second one, but I do have the first book in the series right here. And it is a cat and mouse duet, I'm pretty sure, about this guy named Zaid that is stalking this one girl. And I've heard it's extremely dark. It's like, if you want a dark romance, these are the ones for you. But that's all I really know about it, and that's all I really need to going into it. But like, it's a very pretty book, so I hope to get to this sooner than later. The next one is from Bex Reads, and she always gives me interesting fantasy and stuff that I've never heard of before, and I've never heard of this one, but I'm intrigued. And it's called A Daughter of the Trolls by Mackenzie Catrone. Amazing disability rep in cozy fantasy horror. And I will say, I'm not a cozy fantasy person, but cozy fantasy horror, I don't know. It basically says, are you afraid of the boogeyman? 18-year-old Sparrow can't remember a time when she wasn't, and neither can her mother or the trolls, imps, gnomes, and fairies who live in the glade and call it home. Though Sparrow's weak heart keeps her wheelchair bound, she and her mother have dedicated their lives to protecting the glade, especially from the worst bogeyman of them all, the skin-stealing, poison-ingesting witch called Black Annis. But one night, Sparrow makes a terrible mistake, and everything she once held dear is taken from her. The glade is no longer a sanctuary, and the only way she can save her mother and her friends is to journey out into a monster-ridden world that wasn't made for her or her wheelchair. Joined by her half-goblin friend, Rush, Sparrow will have to confront her fears before the ones they love are lost forever. Oh my gosh, I am insanely interested in this. That sounds really good. Like, it's giving me Shrek vibes, but not in like a bad way. Interesting. I'll have to check this out. It doesn't have that many reviews, but it looks good. The next one is from my friend Krystal from Bond Book Reviews, and she gave me The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss because every fantasy lover needs to. And I agree. I have 3 fantasy reading friends that read way more fantasy than me that have recommended this book, and so I feel like I am doing a disservice to them and to being a fantasy lover now by not having read this. And I know that they have this beautiful 30th edition that's available now that I really want, but it's like $40, and so I gotta save for that, you know? but it is the tale of the magically gifted young man who grows to be the most notorious wizard his world has ever seen. The intimate narrative of his childhood in a troupe of traveling players, his years spent as a near-feral orphan in a crime-ridden city, his daringly brazen yet successful bid to enter a legendary school of magic, and his life as a fugitive after the murder of a king forms a gripping coming-of-age story unrivaled in recent literature. That sounds really, really good. I need to jump on that ASAP. The next one is also from Krystal from Bond Book Reviews, and it says, The Grey Sphere, a dystopian story with a twist that I still think about years later. And I do have that, and I've been meaning to get to this because I've only heard fabulous things about this book. In Garner County, girls are told they have the power to lure grown men from their beds and drive women mad with jealousy. They believe their skin emits a powerful aphrodisiac, the potent essence of youth. That's why they're banished for their 16th year to release their magic into the wild so they can return purified and ready for marriage, but some don't make it home alive. 16-year-old Tierney James dreams of a better life, but as her own Grey Sphere draws near, she quickly realizes it's not just the brutal elements they must fear, it's not even the poachers in the woods, men who are waiting for a chance to grab one of the girls in order to make a fortune on the black market. Their greatest threat may very well be each other. I just need to get to this. Like, I just need to get to this. That's really it. The next one is from Stylish Sarah 11, and that is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. It has amazing plus size rep, good plot, and overall an adorable read. And I have seen this one before, and I feel like there was a reason I took this off my TBR. And I can't remember why, so I'll probably add it back on. But it says it is a devoted fan goes on an unexpected date with her celebrity crush who's secretly posting fan fiction of his own. Intriguing. Plus, I love to see a good plus-size heroine. I feel like we don't see that enough. Honestly, this looks really cute, and it is a series, which, oh, it's the second one. The second one is the one that I've heard bad things about. The first one, I haven't. So, you know what? I might be about this. The next one is from my friend Kelsea, or Reads with K, and that is Every Summer After because of the small town summer vibes, and I 100% agree with this. I gave this a 4.5 stars last year. I am not reading her new one, Meet Me at the Lake, because I've heard it's not very good. But this one is about Persephone Fraser, and basically she made a mistake a decade ago, and her friend, or boyfriend at the time, are not friends anymore. For 6 summers, they would spend every day together, Percy and Sam, and that friendship turned into something more, and then it ended up falling apart. However, 10 years later, she receives a call that sends her racing back to their summer home and into the orbit of Sam, the man she thought she'd have to live without forever. And so it's told throughout the course of 6 years and 1 weekend. And I will say, it has a trope in here I do not love, and I don't really love that being used the way that it did, which is why this only got a 4.5 star instead of a 5. But I still really had a good time with this, and I highly recommend this one. The next one is from the Wonder-Filled Reader, and it is the Guncle. The characters are absolutely fantastic, and the book felt like a cozy hug to me. Very excited for that. So this one is about Patrick, or Gay Uncle Patrick, has always loved his niece Maisie and nephew Grant. That is, he loves spending time with them when they come to Palm Springs for week-long visits or when he heads home to Connecticut for the holidays. But in terms of caretaking and relating to 2 children, no matter how adorable, he's a bit out of his league. So when tragedy strikes and they lose their mother and Patrick's brother has a health crisis of his own, he has to take on the role of primary guardian. Despite having a set of Guncle rules ready to go, he has no idea what to expect, having spent years barely holding on after the loss of his great love, a somewhat stalled career, and a lifestyle not suited to a 6- and 9-year-old. Quickly realizing that parenting, even if temporary, isn't solved with treats and jokes, his eyes are open to a new sense of responsibility and the realization that sometimes, even being larger than life, means you're unfailingly human. This is so cute. How did I not know that this is what this was about? I need to look this one up. That one just sounds adorable. Also, I love a good parenthood book, especially being a mom now. I'm just here for it. The next one is from Kyla Natali. Sorry if I said that wrong. And it is Belladonna. It has something for everyone. Horror, mystery, romance, fantasy, and aesthetic. And I have been wanting to get to this for a while now. I mean, it's gothic. I love gothic books. Orphaned as a baby, 19-year-old Signa has been raised by a string of guardians, each more interested in her wealth than her well-being, and each has met an untimely end. Her relatives are the elusive Hawthorns, an eccentric family living at Thorngrove, an estate glittering and gloomy. Its patriarch mourns his late wife through wild parties, while his son grapples for control of the family's reputation, and his daughter suffers from a mysterious illness. When their mother's restless spirit appears, claiming she was poisoned, Signa realizes the family she depends on could be in grave danger and enlists the help of a surly stable boy to hunt down the killer. However, her best chance of uncovering the murderer is an alliance with Death himself. Though he's made her life a living hell, Death shows Signa their growing connection may be more powerful and more irresistible than she ever dared imagine. Is she going to have a fling with Death? Is that what's going on here? I need to get to this. Why have I not read this? I'm so excited. There are some books on here that, like, I've seen, but I never looked up the plot, and, like, I want to read this today. The next one is from Shmori Reads, and it is The Good Lie, I Flew Through It. And actually, The Good Lie is on sale today for Prime Day at the time that this video is up. So if you're watching this on the day that it comes up, you can buy it for like $7. So I'm probably going to go and swoop in and get this because I've always wanted to read an A.R. Torre book. And it says it's 16's murdered, a suspect behind bars, a desperate father. In a case this shadowy, the truth is easy to hide. 6 teenagers dead, finally the killer behind bars, but are the games just beginning? That sounds really good. I need to read this, and I'm going to buy it on Prime Day. The next one was recommended by Kristen Reads It All, and it is Caraval, suspense, magic, love. And I do agree with this statement because I just read this. You can watch my vlog on this down below. This one is a little hard to explain, but it's basically about 2 girls that have a very abusive dad and are going to have to get married off to like these royal people, and they don't want to do that. And so they decide to run away to this island where there's this master called Caraval that does these games type stuff, and basically you can win a prize at the end, like a wish or something. And so they decide to go and play in the deadly magical games of Caraval, and then there's romance and all this other stuff that goes on. But these are very fun. I had such a good time with this series. I definitely recommend it. It is just a fun, feel-good, magical YA fantasy romance. This one is from Sunshine Reads with Lil, and that is Happy Place, a very relatable book that focuses on love and friendship plus perfect main vibes. And I did like this book. I gave it a 4 stars. The miscommunication trope just didn't work for me, but I do like this book. This one is about Harriet and Wynne, and they met in college and were a couple. Now they're not together anymore. They broke up 5 months ago, but they still haven't told their best friends. And then they end up having to go, their friends always go on like this annual trip to Maine every summer. And I guess they're going one more time. And so they have to go and pretend that they're dating. So it's like fake dating, but also second chance. And yeah, it was just the miscommunication thing didn't work for me. But it has a lot of friendship in this that I love. The romance, I mean, it is a good book. Like, it wasn't my favorite Emily Henry that I've read, but I had a good time with it. I would recommend it. And yeah, if you're looking for another beachy read, this is one for you. The next one is from Danielle Reads, and that is Priory of the Orange Tree, Sapphic Romance and Dragons. That's honestly all I really know about this book as well, and I've been wanting to get to it for a while, but I haven't because, have you seen how big it is? It says, the House of Berethnet has ruled Enos for 1,000 years. Still unwed, Queen Sabran IX must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are getting closer to her door. Ede Duryan is an outsider at court. Though she has risen to the position of lady-in-waiting, she's loyal to a hidden society of mages. Ede keeps a watchful eye on Sabran, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Across the Dark Sea, Tane has trained to be a dragon rider since she was a child, but is forced to make a choice that could make her life unravel. Meanwhile, the divided East and West refuse to parley, and forces of chaos are rising from their sleep. One day, I will commit to this. One day. If that day today, no. But it's getting me a little closer with this recommendation. The next one is from Alicia Reads, and that is Part of Your World. It has the best communication for a contemporary romance. I've never read an Abby Jimenez. I have this on my shelf. I do want to get to it at some time. I know that it's about Alexis Montgomery has had her world turned upside down. The cause is Daniel Grant, a ridiculously hot carpenter who's 10 years younger than her and as casual as they come. The complete opposite of her, and yet their chemistry is undeniable. When her wealthy parents want her to carry on the family legacy of world-renowned surgeons, she doesn't need glory or fame. She's fine with being a mere ER doctor, and every minute she spends with Daniel in the Titan town where she lives, she's discovering just what's really important. Yet letting their relationship become anything more than a short-term fling would mean turning her back on her family and giving up the opportunity to help thousands of people. I keep saying I need to get to all of these, but I do, friends. I hear you. These are recs for me and you. Next one is from Happily Ever April, and I knew this was the one she was going to recommend, and that is A Ship of Bones and Teeth, because someone literally gets their face ripped off. Spoiler? LOL. It's so good. It is by Karina Halley, and it's basically a Little Mermaid dark retelling, like what would happen if Ariel had, still given up her voice to be with Eric, but Eric was abusive, and she decided she wanted to be a mermaid again after all, and then they are kidnapped by a dreadful pirate on the 7 seas, and it is the romance between her and the pirate king. It is so good, so steamy, so much fun, and she's also part siren, which is interesting because sirens, are like more vicious mermaids. I was all for it. It was a fabulous time. It was one of my favorite books I read in June, so I definitely recommend that one. Please check that one out if you like The Little Mermaid and you want a steamy retelling of it. She also gave me the sequel to a series, but I'm assuming if she gave me the sequel that maybe I don't have to read the first one. I don't know. And she gave me A Kingdom of Blood and Betrayal by Holly Renee. The hero is an Olympic-level gold medalist in oral pleasure. Interesting. That, I don't know what that means, but I don't really want to explain what the second book is about. So I'm going to go to the first book, which is A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows. And this doesn't really give me a synopsis at all. You know what? I might just have to go in blind to this series, but you've definitely turned my radar onto this book. Next ones have been recommended by 2 people, bookmarked by Mia and reading on a budget, and that is Daisy Darker. And it says because it's the best thriller I've read recently and everybody should read it. And I do agree with that. This is a really good thriller. It was one of the most accurate representations too, and then there were none by Agatha Christie that I read in that Agatha Christie vlog, which I will link down below. But this one is about a family that is avoiding each other, but Daisy Darker's entire family assembles for their Nana's 80th birthday in this crumbling Gothic house on a tiny island. Then they get cut off from the world for 8 hours, and then at the stroke of midnight, they find Nana is found dead, and an hour later, another family member follows, and it's on and on and on, and they have to find out who is killing them all off. And I loved this one. It has a twist that not everybody is going to be down for, but if you're down for it, it is a good, wild time. The next one is by Amy's Bookish Life, which I love Amy, and it is What's Done in Darkness by Laura McHugh. A thriller 5 years later after being kidnapped with cultish vibes. And I've never heard of this one, so let's see what it's about. It says, abducted as a teenager, a woman must now confront her past and untangle the truth of what really happened to her. So yeah, someone kidnaps her. A week after her abduction, she's found alongside a highway in a bloodstained dress alive, but her family treats her like she's tainted, and there's little hope of finding her captor, who kept her blindfolded in the dark the entire time, never uttering a word. One good thing arises from this, a chance to leave the Ozarks and start a new life. 5 years later, she's struggling to keep her past buried when an investigator calls. Convinced her case is connected to the disappearance of another girl, he wants her help, and he'll do whatever it takes to get it, even if that means dragging her back to the last place she wants to go. Ooh, I need to add this to my list. Like, I'm adding it right now. That sounds so good. I love a good thriller. I love a good abduction story. Let's get it done. The next one is by Ruth from What Ruth Reads. The performance by Daniel Betts. About 30 pages of AM dram fun. 5 stars. I have no idea what this is. Let's see. It says, the Winmore Theatre Company is changing. Nearly all the original founding members of the Dram group have been edged out by a new generation of hungry young actors who dream of making it big. Xiaoban is the last of her kind and doesn't understand or care for the new age of cutting-edge raw theater that is being ushered in by the pretentious theater director Marianne. When trust is betrayed, art imitates life in a crescendo of claustrophobic WTF-ery that plays out in front of an intimate live audience. Her refusal to be put out to pasture ensures that she and Marianne find themselves starring in a night of immersive theater that they will never forget. I have never heard about this, and is it bad that I don't know what Amdram is? I don't know what that is. Should I know what that is? I don't know, and I'm a theater kid. Oh, a theatrical performance by amateur players. Interesting. All right. You know what? Why not? It's 30 pages and I love theater. The next one is recommended from Bree from Four Paws in a Book, and that is Ashes of the Sun, a gay fantasy Star Wars with fantastic characters. That is intriguing. So it says, long ago, a magical war destroyed an empire and a new one was built in its ashes, but still the old grudges simmer and 2 siblings will fight on opposite sides to save their world in the start of this new epic fantasy trilogy. And it has really good reviews from all the people that I know that have read it, so I am going to add this to my list ASAP. The next one is from Samantha Ray Reads, and that is Minx by Sophie Lark. Super spicy NDFMC, a strong-ass main female character and a supportive main male character, basically. So it's FMC, MFC, MMC, all the things. This sounds so good, and I love Miss Sophie Lark. She's one of my favorite authors, so I need to get this ASAP. But it says, Ramsey Howell is a self-made man. He's proven he can get what he wants, and from the moment Blake Abbott catches his eye, she becomes his top priority. Blake wonders what took Ramsey so long. She knew who he was years before. They strike a deal to play a game. Ramsey created the game for her. She adds rules he has no intention of following. As fantasy invades reality, the arrangement consumes them both. They cross lines they swore they never would, and each begins to question what they thought they always wanted. Interesting. I mean, need I say more? This is on my list already, simply because it's Sophie Lark. And the last one is from Shira Kathleen, and it is Angelfall by Susan E. Underrated YA twisted dystopian book with romance. And I've never heard of this one either. It's been 6 weeks since angels of the apocalypse descended to demolish the modern world. Street gangs rule the day while fear and superstition rule the night. When warrior angels fly away with a helpless little girl, her 17-year-old sister Penryn will do anything to get her back. Anything including making a deal with an enemy angel. Interesting. I've never heard of this. I'm not big on like dystopian ones, but like this one actually sounds kind of intriguing, so I will add it to my list. And those are 30 book recommendations from 30 friends. I hope you found some new books that you are interested in. I definitely did. I found a couple ones that I'm really excited to read soon. If there were any people that were YouTubers that recommended me books, I will link their YouTube channels underneath here so you can follow them, like Bree from Four Paws in a Book, or my friend Sarah, or Neva, or Kelsea, all of those people. So definitely follow them down below and let me know which book in this recommendations you are most interested in reading. You can either leave that or you can tell me which one you want me to read, because some of these I need to prioritize way sooner than later. And in that, I will see you in the next video. Bye!